everybody ready? Chief Elkins, you've already been sworn in, you're still under oath.
Yes.
How long have you been the chief of the Nitro Fire Department?
1 year.
And how long have you been with the Nitro Fire Department?
23 years, 11 months.
And are you, during that time with the Nitro Fire Department, did you become familiar with rules and procedures for sick leave?
Yes.
Use of sick leave? I'm sorry, for the use, you became familiar with the rules and procedures for the use of sick leave?
Yes.
Can you generally describe what the standard procedure is for use of sick leave?
Usually it's, you have to call in prior to your shift and let the on-duty person know that you won't be coming in for that day. If you're off for more than 2 shifts, then you have to bring an excuse. And there was a memo written 10/1/8. I can read it, I can't quote it to you, but.
I'll hand this to you. If we can mark this as the city's exhibit 1. You have this. Look at the copy. You all. I'm going to hand you city's exhibit number 1. It's marked N1 and ask you if that is the memo that you're referring to.
Yes, it is.
And what's the title of that memo? Does it have one?
No, it really doesn't have one.
All right. And what specifically does that memo reference with regard to the
Section P basically says if, a shift commander will contact a member either via phone or physical visit to their residence. This is basically what it says. Is what that's what, as a, the shift commander would do.
contact a member by phone or a visit to their residence if they called in sick?
Correct.
Now, does that happen all the time?
Not always.
And why would it not happen?
It just, you mean, the phone calls to, either someone just does, they forget to do it.
Now, with specific regard to Captain Jarrett, he had been taking a fair amount of sick leave during the year, during last year. Is that right?
Objection, that's leading question.
Okay. Did Captain Jarrett take any sick leave during 2013?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not he was contacted on each of the dates that he took off sick?
I don't think he was contacted on each day, no.
Do you know if he was contacted on any of the dates?
Yes, he was, or attempted.
Attempted. Who made the contact, do you know?
I did.
Were you able to contact him on each of the dates that he was
No.
off sick? And what did you do if you were not able to contact him?
I had went to his residence on at one point.
Did you find him at home?
No, he wasn't home.
Do you know what day that was?
August 15th.
Okay. Do you know what time of day you were there?
About 1 o'clock.
When you didn't find him home, what did you do?
Well, at that point, being it was a day for his shift, I was suspicious that he was working for someone else.
Why were you suspicious
Well-
that he might have been working for someone else?
One, his work truck wasn't there. The truck that he drives for Mid-Atlantic was not there.
Okay. Had you ever seen him
Excuse me,
driving?
I've got an objection. He just said in contravention to this court's ruling, the name that he attributes to this private employee.
The ruling was, we're not going to allow his one-on-one meeting requiring him to provide his finances and anything regarding that. But the statement, which has been conceived by both sides, that it was, they drove a vehicle out in the open, and just what this isn't hearsay, what he saw was that he has a work truck. But that's nothing that he has asked the member. Is that about right, guys, or?
You're saying he referenced the name?
Yes.
We can strike the name and the record.
The source of the income, because he, I mean,
Well, I mean, if that's all we're
if
here.
it's common knowledge, but, sure.
So from this point forward, can we refer to it as the private employer? Is
Sure.
that
Yeah.
satisfied?
So the,
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Well, just so the record's clear, as I understand at least the board's ruling, that there is an exclusion in effect for the outside source of income, and I don't see much of a difference between not mentioning the name and alluding to something which is quote, source of income. But I understand the commission's ruling.
The commission's ruling was that we couldn't use anything that we had obtained during the investigation relating to the private employer. However, something that the chief or any other person may have observed outside of the investigation, outside of the interrogation, is not excluded.
You had indicated on the motion that you were going to bring forward new evidence, not related to him requesting, what we deemed as illegal, requesting the information from him. Anything outside of that, you say you're going to bring new evidence. That's what this appears to be. We could do this all day, so yeah, we'll just proceed along this line.
Okay. No, I forgot what question I asked. Okay, you had gone to Captain Jarrett's home on August 15th, and he was not home. Is that correct?
All right. Yes.
Yes. What did you do at that point?
I come back to the station.
Okay. Did you make any additional efforts to contact Captain Jarrett that day?
I don't recall, no.
On August 15th, you prepared a letter to Captain Jarrett. Mark this as city's exhibit number 2. Take a look at city's exhibit number 2 and tell me what that is.
This is a notice of investigation for Captain Jarrett.
And for what grounds was the investigation initiated?
Well, due to the fact that, one, he wasn't home, and, he was being paid that day by the city. That's why I went ahead and did that.
Okay. And how was this delivered to Captain Jarrett?
It was later in the day, so I had Major Richardson, I gave it to him, and he said that he would deliver himself.
Okay. do you know whether or not he was successful in delivering that?
He also went to the residence and was unable to, Captain Jarrett wasn't home at the time. And, yeah, and I'm not sure what time it was when he went, but he attempted and he wasn't home.
Okay. Was that notice of investigation ultimately delivered in some other fashion?
Yes.
And how, do you know how?
This one was in with, put in with his check.
A paycheck?
Yes.
You can put this up over here. Were you given any other information about Captain Jarrett's whereabouts that day?
It sounds like, excuse the interruption, but it sounds like what council asked for is information, which sounds a lot like hearsay unless this witness has personal direct knowledge. I've asked that he not be permitted to testify to things that others
With
did.
regards to Major Richardson, it was hearsay at the time, and you could have asked for an affidavit or Major Richardson come forward. But that particular was hearsay. It's already been said, and, you know, that was.
But they're about to talk about something else, as I understand the
Okay,
testimony.
and the next thing you're objecting to, because previously that was hearsay. Now you're objecting to what?
Well, I'm not sure what his testimony is. The question was framed, what is your understanding? Which seems to me that the question calls for something outside of his knowledge.
Rephrase the question, I suppose, unless we're going to bring another.
I'll just move on. We'll ask Captain Richardson since he has now become an important witness. Chief, you had said that you knew, well, let me correct that. Prior to August 15th, did you know that Captain Jarrett was working for a private employer?
Yes, I heard that he was working for us.
And that's hearsay.
Yes, it is.
Prior to August?
Well, prior to that, I actually saw him in the other employer's vehicle.
Okay.
And prior to August 15th, did you see him in the private employer's vehicle more than once?
Well, the one time I do recall was July 1st. It was about 7:15 in the morning. I was standing in Ronnie King's front yard, and he was driving down the street.
He who?
Captain Jarrett was driving down the street in the other employer's vehicle with the other employer's uniform ideas.
And on July 1st, do you know whether or not Captain Jarrett was scheduled to work for the Nitro Fire Department?
July 1st at 8 o'clock would have been his shift.
And did he report to work on July 1st at 8 o'clock?
No.
Did he use a sick or a vacation day?
It would have been a sick day.
And do your firefighters fill out timesheets for noting when they work and the dates they work,
Yes,
the type of pay they're to receive for that work?
yes.
Can we see that before you publish it?
Certainly. That was provided to you. I'd like to have this marked as city record number 3. And Chief, let me hand you City of Nitro Exhibit number 3 and ask if you can tell me what that is.
This is a timesheet for the city of Nitro.
Okay, is that one that the fire department uses?
Yes,
Whose timesheet is that?
this is for Mark Jarrett.
Do you review these timesheets?
I do.
What dates does that timesheet cover?
7/1 and 7/4.
Of what year?
2013.
Okay, and is the date of July 1st, the date that you saw Mr. Jarrett in the private employer's pickup truck, is this the timesheet that would have covered the date, that same date that he was scheduled to work?
Yes.
How are those hours recorded?
You mean like the time in, time out?
I'm sorry, for the date of July 1st, how was Mr. Jarrett paid?
He would have been paid for 24 hours,
And what type of pay would he have received?
just his standard captain's pay.
Okay. Was it regular time, sick time, or vacation?
Oh, I'm
time?
sorry, it would have been, this would have been sick time.
Okay, sick time on July 1st.
Yes.
And what's the date on the bottom of that timesheet?
Right here.
Yes,
7/11/2013.
and there's a signature there.
Yes.
Do you recognize the signature?
Yes.
Whose signature is that?
Mark Jarrett.
Now that you're done, I think we have a clerical error. We have a different document than what you have.
Oops.
Yes. Maybe he's got the same different document, maybe. that's right.
Sorry. I got too many timesheets.
Yeah, we had
He's got
Jim.
that. I'm sorry, let me get you the right one.
You have the same one she has.
Not sure.
No, this is the one that I gave you. It's incorrect. This is the one that I'm looking at. At the bottom, it has City of Nitro 00032. So let me find the board, the correct sheet to look at.
If you're not still referencing yours, then you don't know what's there, you're gonna still need it.
Well, no, I can go. Although the court reporter's probably gonna want to, I know I have another one, it's just a pull papers apart and
Sure,
now
I
a mess.
understand.
A little mess. Let's see.
In the spirit of experience here, you both have copies that are identical. You don't have any problem with her trying to conjure up copies of this, or you do?
I have one.
The only objection I have is to its admission. She hasn't moved to admit it. I'll ask that the board reserve judgment on the admissibility of it until we've cross-examined the witness. But as far as this being a copy of an original document, I haven't seen the original, but we've heard testimony about it, and you'll hear more testimony about it. But I just asked the board to withhold a ruling on its admission as evidence until we cross-examine the witness.
Standard practice, and this is a question, I'll state, standard practice, if somebody wants to admit evidence, and you see it as valid, nothing that has been conjured up, that's normal for not admit evidence and to reserve the right to.
Well, I'm just trying, again, I'm trying to streamline the proceedings too. I could object to certain things now, but I think it would only prolong the proceeding. I'll do that if you want, but I think it'd be most efficient
Okay.
if after the witness
If later, if they have no problem, if later you bring something substantial that says this document doesn't need to be in our possession, I suppose that'd be reasonable, right? Is that what you?
Well, I mean, I've got cross-examination regarding the very creation of the document.
Okay, okay. So, yeah, sounds good. Will you guys have any objection to reserving the right and saying this is not an original authentic document?
Well, that's not the only objection I have. I mean, now that we're here, I guess the objections we have is that this wasn't prepared as it's suggested by Captain Jarrett. It's got his signature on it, but the rest of it's not his work. But again, I can do that in cross-examination, probably be more efficient.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and we could do this all day. He's gonna make a point later.
I have no problem.
Right, we'll just continue.
Doing it.
You'll have your opportunity to make a point as to its authenticity. And anything else regarding this.
Chief Elkins, after you initiated the August 15th investigation into, what was the purpose of the August 15th investigation?
Well, due to the fact that, he wasn't home. And that, I had suspicion that he was working somewhere else.
As a result of the investigation, or in furtherance of the investigation, did you interview Captain Jarrett?
Yes, I did.
And what happened during the course of that interview?
We just had a series of questions about, where he may have been or what he may have been doing on, certain dates.
Okay.
And, he was asked, if we could contact or get the information that's not being allowed.
At that interview, did you present him with a list of dates that he had used sick leave?
Yes.
Okay. And when you presented him with the dates that he had used sick leave, did he indicate whether or not he had worked for anyone else on those dates?
Objection. This is squarely within that which this board has ruled upon. The statute again says he can't be requested to provide source of income, and the board has sort of highlighted the fact that the board has ruled specifically during the interview. Now she's asking, during the interview, did you ask? We know he asked and the board's excluded it. Now they want to bring it in contravention to the board's ruling.
I'm sorry, are you in a position to restate, ma'am? Are you in a position to restate what she said, what the question was? I didn't think so. Are you asking about the finances, because I didn't really.
What I had asked is whether he presented the dates to Captain Jarrett, and if Captain Jarrett told him whether he was working for another employer on any of those dates.
Unsolicited, told him if he was working, didn't ask him. Is that what you're asking? Is that what you said?
No, the question was that he asked it.
Okay. Let's not go into if he spontaneously combusted with information, that's one of the, you asked him, we said that was an illegal act, so let's not discuss him asking him. Yeah.
All right. No discussion about it.
Yeah.
Did you have a discussion, Chief Elkins, about Captain Jarrett's request for vacation time in the month of July?
Yes.
And what happened in the month of July with Captain Jarrett's vacation request?
With the request that he did make,
Yes.
well, Captain Jarrett requested, I can't remember exactly how many hours it was, but it was too many hours, is what he requested. And you know, myself with Mary Beth, we were looking and trying to figure out to see what the correct time was. And, I mean, that's all we did. That's all we did with it, was just to try to, you know, to see what it was. And I didn't sign the sheet because he was asking for too many hours.
Okay. How many hours of vacation, let me ask you this, do you know how many hours of vacation Captain Jarrett was entitled to starting July 1st?
I'm at a loss. It would be.
If you don't know, that's fine. I was just asking if you don't
I
know.
don't know exactly. I mean, I can sit here and think it up.
That's fine. Now, when you had the discussion about the sick leave, about the vacation request, what did Captain Jarrett tell you about the vacation request?
Well, he said that he hadn't made a vacation request.
That he had not made a vacation request?
Yes.
Did that coincide with your understanding?
No, I mean, he had made a request, but, I mean, he stated that he had made one.
Did he tell you why he was going to be making vacation requests? Why he made a vacation request? Or, I'm sorry, strike that. We are going in circles. Do vacation requests typically come to you?
Yes.
Are you the one that generally signs off on all vacation requests?
Yes.
What happens to the vacation request after you sign off on it?
It goes to Mary Beth Burke.
And did you ever see a vacation request form from Captain Jarrett for the months of July?
Yes, I did see it.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as the City of Nitro Exhibit number 4. Is that the vacation request form that you saw?
Yes.
Did you approve that?
No.
Why not?
Well, he was asking for too many days.
Okay. So the vacation request form was not approved.
Right. Yes.
Did he ever submit another vacation request form to you?
No.
All right. At the conclusion of your investigation into Captain Jarrett's use of sick time, I think we have, has that letter been marked the October 29th? I know I handed it to all of you.
Yeah. It happens.
This is August 15th.
What is it?
August 15th. 15th, notice of investigation.
Okay, the one I gave you all at the beginning, the statement of charges.
October 29th.
Right here.
Yes.
Yes, it's not the Marshall, he has, I have a copy, he has it in evidence.
We have not marked. Okay.
Yeah. We asked for the dates. We asked for the charges.
What was one?
Exhibit 1 was the memorandum from 2009.
Right, that's what I
Simply,
thought.
exhibit 2 is notice of investigation, time sheet, list of speakers.
Chief, at the conclusion of your investigation, did you do a letter to Captain Jarrett regarding your conclusions?
Yes, I did.
And I've handed you City of Nitro Exhibit number 5. Is that the letter that you prepared?
Yes.
On what basis did you, and we can't talk about certain events dealing with the private employer, but what was your conclusion?
Well, in here, one was dishonesty. And, you know, during the interview, you know, I was asking, or it's like, Mark asked us if we would, why we wouldn't work with him with the days that he hadn't requested any days, but he was wanting to take the days later on and throw them in wherever it would work out for him.
Let me stop you.
Okay.
He wouldn't request any days. What do you mean, what days would he not request?
Not sure. Getting that.
You just said he wouldn't request any days.
Well, he didn't request, he didn't, he stated he hadn't requested any sick or any vacation days. But on the date of the 27th during the interview, you know, he made a statement that, you know, that Mary Beth was going to work with him and put the days in where he needed them. Now, on the 27th, that was the first that I had heard of that.
27th of July?
No, of August.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that was the first that I'd heard of that.
Put what days in?
Well, I guess days that he was working at the other employee, for the other employer, she was going to put in sick days on those days.
That's what Captain Jarrett told you.
Yes.
So those statements were also something that you used as part of your decision on the recommended punishment? Those
Yes.
factors?
Yes.
And what else did you conclude after your investigation?
Well, and just the fact that, you know, he wasn't home on the day, or the day that I was up there.
And in looking at this letter, that's City's Exhibit number 5,
Mhm.
dated October 29th. Take a look at the second page of that exhibit. You listed several dates in the first full paragraph that's not quoting.
Yes.
Okay. What does that sentence say,
This.
starting with the, about midway through the paragraph?
Right here.
Mhm.
The dates that you used, pay sick leave, but you were working for
The private employer.
the private employer, included June 4th, July 1, August 15th, August 21st, August 24th, and September 11th. These dates were verified via your timesheet.
We'll
Leave that out.
Okay. Now, of those dates that you just read, on which dates did you see Captain Jarrett wearing the private employer uniform and or driving the vehicle? Which are the dates that you have listed there?
July 1.
Okay. Any others?
I can't recall the,
On the August, you stated August 15th in the letter.
yes.
On August 15th, you said that you went to Captain Jarrett's home.
Mhm. Yes.
Did you see him that day, or did you see him that day work in the uniform driving the truck of the private employer on August 15th?
No.
Okay. When you went to his home, what did you observe?
That the truck that he normally drives for the other employee was not there.
And Chief Elkins, what punishment have you recommended?
Reduction in
These
rank and,
offenses?
I'm sorry, a reduction in rank and 10 shifts off without pay.
And why did you come to that recommendation?
Well, for the actions, it's in our book. I mean, it is a fireable offense, and it's a harsh punishment. I mean, he's got 16 years on a job, and I felt like it was too harsh of a punishment for someone that had been on the job that long.
You felt like firing him was too harsh of a punishment?
Yes.
Did you make that decision in reliance on, or in discussions with any other officials?
Yes, with the mayor.
Okay. And that's what, was his input used in making your decision?
Yes.
I do not have any further questions for this witness, and I would ask that we move into evidence city's exhibits 1 through 5 he's testifying about.
Again, with respect to those documents, I'd ask you to reserve a ruling on that until after cross-examination. With respect to the decision letter, it clearly contains information that would have to be redacted in order for it to be properly admitted. So once it's redacted so that it contains no allusion to that which is permit me to complete my, then I think then it becomes the proper topic of discussion whether it's admissible or not. But in an unredacted form, we certainly would object.
Let's see, which number, if you know?
I don't know the number.
It's
but
number 5.
Well, I mean, it's replete with references to the product of his interview. I mean, the testimony thus far is he observed Captain Jarrett has knowledge of one episode which he claims is in conflict with the sick day. Now, in addition, there are allusions to the name of a private employer and so forth. I think all that has to come out consistent with this board's ruling before it could be even considered as an exhibit. So with that said, it's not our problem. It's up to them to somehow try to propound that for something that's an admissible exhibit, but in its present form, we would certainly object to it.
Well, I think the testimony was that the chief knew who the private employer was, so just simply the reference to the name doesn't make the document inadmissible, even with the ruling that the board has made. And second, obviously this board is an administrative board, you've made the ruling, you know what the information is. Redact it if you want to, but I don't think that affects the admissibility of the document itself.
I know where you were going here, and you'll actually get a chance to restate correctly. So if we were going to redact the name and all the dates of which he used other time sheets, and he was only able to use July 1 as an example.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to cut you off.
July 1 as an example, because that was his first-hand knowledge of it. If he was able to use that, doesn't meet the criteria of the penalty still for one offense for what you're charging him for.
Well, and it also makes allusions to that which he obtained during an interview, which the board has ruled that it's an impermissible question. Those references would have to come out too.
Well, I think it's all the weight of the evidence, not necessarily the admissibility at this point.
Well, before you get to weight, relevancy, or anything, it first has to be admissible evidence. That's the threshold question.
It's my opinion that, and this is one opinion that we can go out and talk about, but it's pretty cut and dry. It's my opinion that all of this, with the new evidence that she's permitted only, with the new evidence that she's presented. She might have more future evidence from other witnesses that we've learned that he's being alleged that he's doing something that they're saying is illegal, and that evidence alone should be admitted. None of the other things, if they can't substantiate it with new evidence. If they can substantiate it with new evidence, all these other dates, the employer, whomever, any other information. That was our ruling, and I think we stay consistent with that. Go ahead, Nick. So your request was to stricken this from the evidence, and we're going to admit 1 through 5. And keep bearing in mind, so far, not that this is an issue right now, we've been made aware of one offense with new evidence, and not that it's, not that it has anything to do with anything, what the name of the employer is or anything like that. That's what the new evidence is showing. Your take.
Okay. What I'd like to do is this, again, for the sake of efficiency and expedience. I have a number of documents that may be useful for the board's consideration, some of which are now sort of moot in view of the board's ruling, but so that we can move along more quickly, I've organized those into binders, and I'd like to tender those to the board if I could, with the admonition that I'm not asking the board to look at anything now, and at the conclusion of these proceedings, I'll probably ask that some of them be admitted, but I'll ask that some of them be eliminated.
1 moment, please. I'll give you a chance to.
Do you really want
I'm not wanting to do anything yet.
to, I don't even really want to see the
He's wanting to admit this stuff.
disability.
I'm not
recognition.
asking for anything to be admitted. I'm just, rather than to chase a document around the room, at the point at which we may offer it for some purpose, you'll already have it. And just so it's clear, I'm not offering this, not even asking the board to look at it.
If you need more time, but if you don't.
No, I've seen, well, except for disability applications, I've seen this stuff.
Councilor Red Cross,
In 2 minutes, I'm gonna make a quick restroom break, and then I'm ready.
I think we need one as well. My counterpart exploded. Don't have to do that.
I see you using toothpicks over there.
Yeah, I better go turn one.
Do you need help with something? I mean,
I was just trying to, I think where I had batteries in here before, one of them had corroded on it, and I was trying to pull it off.
You've been trained well, I see.
It was just down in
Angela Grace, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
He didn't know who he was at first.
Should we just erase it with the pencil eraser?
Yeah. John's supposed to be bringing down chili and peanut butter.
Okay. Thank you.
Need anything else?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Still on battery?
Yeah, it's not working.
I mean, you still on battery here?
Oh, yeah, it's good.
So you don't need to look for it still?
No, it's okay.
Pretty good battery.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
Pull a lot of stuff out of it. So. Yes.
Yeah, this is the one he brought to me on the,
Yeah, he's got that there too.
that's the one he brought to me on the, not
Yeah, I know there's the other one as well. Let's look in this one. Here's a better copy.
Well, now this is the,
Oh, sorry, I just saw
I
it.
got that. Remember, it's like I got this,
Mhm.
all these things
Right at
right
the same
together.
time,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, we'll take a look inside that binder, see what we see where it's going. My desk. Good.
No.
Sorry, I left you all lined up.
It's not hard to get him out.
It's pretty difficult, whatever's going on here. I mean, without this thing, without your recorder.
No, it's okay. Thank you, then.
Well, I didn't know if you were getting accurate recording.
She's just not gonna have a backup.
No, that's scary, yeah.
Yeah. How are you? You're good.
That's not just snoring, just punching the air.
I think we were waiting on we were giving you a few more minutes, but you had said you were pretty good with this binder being brought to our attention, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've looked at the documents, most everything in it.
You have no objection to us seeing them?
No.
Okay, but they're not admitted dead?
No, I don't want those published yet until, but those will be used or not used during the testimony. I just want to use the shorthand, the quick way to get to it, so.
Just say, hey, reference this, gotcha.
Ready to proceed, sir, yes.
Thank you. Chief Elkins, we began this discussion focusing on a memorandum that was referenced only as to Part P. And I'm sorry, I don't know the exhibit number.
They're all sitting there.
It's number one.
This is it.
Okay, and for the record, that's that's city's exhibit 1.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, they've got it.
I'll do.
Okay.
Are you the author of that document?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay, do you know who authored that document?
Yes,
Who was that?
the previous chief, Chief Hedrick.
Okay, so as to, between you and former Chief Hedrick, as to the content of the referenced paragraph, who would have the superior knowledge as to its construction?
Well, I guess Chief Hedrick, I'm sorry.
Let me object. I don't think that anybody needs to testify about the superior knowledge of construction. I think the document's going to speak for itself.
Well, I
Says what it
appreciate
says.
council's help in my strategy here. I think I can handle it. The policy underpinning paragraph P as to between you and Chief Hedrick, who would have superior knowledge in that respect?
He wrote the document.
Okay, so that's a yes?
No, I mean, I understand the document.
You understand the document?
Yes, it reads, yes.
I think she has a reasonable objection to the term superiority or superior knowledge. Who wrote the document, the reasonable question, but she has a reasonable objection. If you wouldn't mind rephrasing, sir.
The reason that the document was authored, the purpose, and all things relating to this, as I understand it, former Chief Hedrick would be in a better position to discuss that, would he not?
Is that your opinion or your?
I'm asking
my
you
opinion?
if you agree with that.
I mean, it reads as it reads. I mean, I understand what it says.
Okay, so in other words, we're to interpret this very literally, just on the face of it. Is that right? You need to make an audible answer so the recorder can get it down.
Yes, yes or no? I mean, is what it's on the document the way we should read it? Tough answer.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so based on that literal interpretation, you have that exhibit in front of you.
Yes, I do.
Would you read the second sentence of paragraph P so that the board will be able to focus on the point that I want to discuss with you?
Sick leave is designed for employees who are unable to perform their job duties.
Okay. What job duties are implicated there?
Just job duties. I mean, day-to-day duties.
Of
The fire department.
the fire department. Do you have light duty at the fire department?
No, sir, we don't.
Okay, so when you say job duties, you're talking about the full range and spectrum of responsibilities of a firefighter.
Yes.
Okay. Now, would you be so kind as to read the fourth sentence, beginning with the word effectively?
Effective immediately, is that what you're talking?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Effective immediately, if a member of this department calls in sick at some point during that shift, the on-duty shift commander will contact the member either via phone or physical visit to the residence.
Okay, now, focusing on the date of July 1, which we seem to have narrowed the issue to that date, did Captain Jarrett call in sick that day?
Of which date now?
July 1 of 2013.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, so explain to the board, if you would, given the literal meaning of this, how that if he didn't call in sick, the remainder of that sentence would apply.
I'm not sure what you're asking. How would this apply to him not calling in?
Well, let's break it down a little more if you prefer. As I understand your testimony, you don't know if he called in sick that day, right?
Yes.
Okay. If he didn't call in sick, how would the remainder of this,
How would it be applied
yes,
to
sir.
that day?
Yes, sir.
Well, someone should have called to check to see if he was home that day, or go by his residence to see if he was home that day.
Well, but you'll agree with me, would you not, that this whole provision is prefaced on the phrase, if a member of this department calls in sick. So that's a predicate to everything else. That's the one thing that triggers the requirements thereafter. Is that right?
Mhm.
Okay, but you have no knowledge as to whether he called in sick, right?
I don't recall, no.
Okay, so if the application of this paragraph is contingent upon calling in sick, you'd agree with me, wouldn't you? That you can't apply the remainder of it, right?
So what you're saying is
No,
that...
I said exactly what I said. If you don't understand the question, I'll repeat it to you.
Okay,
But
repeat it
I'd
to
like
me.
an answer.
I ask you to repeat it, please.
Okay, so my question to you is, if a person did not call in sick, the remainder of that paragraph would not apply. Is that right?
Well, no, you're asking if it would not, it would apply, because if he didn't come in, if a person wasn't coming in, whether it was him or anyone, somebody's gonna have to make a call and see, why aren't you showing up for work?
So you're saying that although we read this literally, that says if someone calls in sick, the provisions still apply. Is that your position?
I'm not sure.
Well, let me move on to something else. We'll come
Okay.
back to that. I will ask, first of all, council's attention to that which is under tab 1, and give council, if you would, an opportunity to review that and state any objections she has before we proceed. And I'd also like to ask the witness, while they're doing that, if you...
Let me, I don't know if mine are tabbed right, because there is a document
Just print the one, the
right
actual,
here.
that's the one.
That's not one that's under
I know,
tab 1.
but, okay, I just wanted to make sure it was not in front of tab one.
Tab, don't tab it. Very person. Let's start counting.
Because you have something here,
Yeah, let's do it in front of you.
which is right.
Okay, no, that's not a problem.
What are we working off of? Which, I'm on one, What we're working on.
The document that I'm referring to, at the top of the page says Mark Jarrett, and it's a letter dated May 28, 2013.
Okay, it's not one, it's gonna be y'all's first tab. Yeah,
We're
we're all
there.
good over here.
We're good.
Okay. All right. Chief, have you had an opportunity to read that over?
Yes,
You recognize that document?
yes.
And tell the commission what that document is.
It's Mark Jarrett's request for a permanent disability pension.
Okay. Do you remember that document?
Yes,
Okay. And does that appear to be a true and accurate copy of the document?
yes.
You would have received the original of that document, or
I don't know, I wouldn't have received the original.
did you get a copy of it contemporaneous to when it was filed at around the same
I think I have
time?
a copy,
You sit on the pension fund, right?
yes,
Okay. So this is something you've seen and considered in the past, is that right?
yes.
This one's Jarrett too. The record would reflect that that document has now been marked as Jarrett 2, and having been properly authenticated, I'll ask for its admission into evidence.
I don't have any objections.
So moved.
Yep.
So moved.
Now, attendant to the written application for disability pension, did you also receive a medical record in support of that application?
Are you saying following that?
Well, in connection with it. Did Captain Jarrett simply supply you with a short letter, nothing to support his claim of disability? Or did he supply you other materials that supported his claim?
There were other documents, yes.
Okay. I'll get you the... Excuse me, let me show you this thing else.
Are you asking him as in his capacity as a fire chief? or
I'm going
in
to
his
ask him in
capacity-
whatever capacity that he has.
Where and how he's.
And I'll ask him as a person. I don't care what capacity you want to put him in. You put him in whatever capacity you want. You pick. Chief Elkins, I'd ask you to look at what has not yet been marked that is captioned permanent disability claim and see if that document seems familiar to you.
No, sir, it's not.
Okay. Now, I'll ask you to look at the following page and see if that's something you've seen before.
No, I haven't seen this one either.
Well, let me ask you if you were aware that in addition to the application for permanent disability, that you had seen some medical evidence of Captain Jarrett's disability.
Regarding the,
Regarding anything.
what you just showed me?
Regarding anything.
Well, I was aware that he was filling out an application for the disability.
Well, in fact, you received written notification of that, as I understand your testimony. Is that right?
Written notification that,
Well, you said you got a copy of his pension application, right? His letter saying, I'm applying for total and permanent disability.
oh, yes, yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
And when did you get that? Make it easy for you. Was it before July 1?
Yes, I think, I don't know the date.
All right, well, then let me ask you this question. Why would, after having supplied a written notice of his lack of ability come to work, would he then make individual calls to the department to duplicate that?
You mean to duplicate the fact that he's,
Made a written notice to you that he's physically unfit for fireman's duty. Why would he then call in?
well, at that point, there wasn't a determination if he was unfit for duty.
Okay, he had not been appearing for duty pursuant to that, right?
At times, yes.
So it's your recollection that on July 1, that you were just expecting him either to be there or to call in, is that right?
Well, normally, people will call in, but I understand at that point, I did receive that. But there had been no determination on there hadn't been any date set to when and how long he would be off or if he would come back.
Well, the fact is, he discussed that with you and said that he wasn't fit for duty and wouldn't be for the future, is that right?
He never discussed that with me, as far as I can recall.
And is it your testimony that as of July 1st, he just went AWOL and didn't show up for work?
As of July 1st, I understood that he had applied for a medical pension. He was injured or hurt.
Okay?
With that, we had to make a decision on whether or not, where he had not, his vacation request was not signed, or at that time we weren't going to use it, so we figured he wasn't coming back. We started paying him sick days.
I think you've answered the question. I'll let you explain it further if you need to, but I think you finally answered the question. It was understood as of the time that he notified you in writing of his application for
Yes.
pension that he
Yes.
was not intending to return to work.
Right, but all I had was the letter. We didn't discuss it.
Okay? So instead of a call on each specific day, you had a letter accompanied by the understanding that he would not be returning to work. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you just mentioned that there was a application for vacation time supplied by Mark Jarrett. Is that right?
Mhm. Yes.
And that's, is that the same as the city's exhibit number 4?
Yes.
Okay. So, what's the first date that he asked to be counted as vacation time?
July 1.
Okay. And that's the day you saw a private vehicle that you concluded was that of his somebody other than an employer that was connected with the city of Nitro. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there was a discussion in your direct testimony that he made this application, and subsequently there was some determination that the number of vacation or holiday days that he was entitled to exceeded the number of days he requested here, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have any personal knowledge of how that then got converted to something else or changed?
When we got the letter, and we knew, well, we got received the letter from Mark.
Which letter are we talking about? So it's clear.
The
May 28 letter?
his application for his pension.
Okay.
At that point, we determined that we were going to, because, you know, I hadn't.
No, I don't know, so that's why I'm asking you.
I hadn't signed his vacation request. I hadn't approved it. We were going to start paying him vacation days. Or, I'm sorry, we were going to start paying sick days from that point on. Well.
So you made a determination at that point that you were going to pay certain of these days as sick days?
Yes, until we did talk to council and that they.
You mean the city council?
No, our legal counsel.
Okay, so you were going to pay some of these as vacation days, but then you conferred with legal counsel, who advised you what?
But we were going to pay them. I was just going to pay sick days out until he used them all up and then use his vacation. But after the first 2 of the sick days, we were advised that it would be better to use the vacation days and pay that out,
Okay.
and then use the sick days.
So let me see if I've got your testimony right. I want you to be real clear on it. It was the collective decision of you, the city's legal counsel, and perhaps others, that certain days would be assigned as vacation days and certain days would be assigned as sick days, right?
As a group, it'd be all sick, it'd be all vacation, it'd be all vacation, or it'd be all sick.
All within the general understanding that as of the time he applied for a pension, he would not be back.
Yes.
Okay, now you speak to the question of dishonesty. That's a pretty caustic sort of accusation, is it not? What about any of this was dishonest? What was the act or acts of dishonesty within the framework of what we've discussed with the limitations on?
Well, the fact of not being home
Okay.
for that, and then the fact
let's
that,
take that.
well, and the fact that, you know, in the interview that, you know, he made the statement that a deal of some sort was made between him and Mary Beth that she was going to put those days back in where he wanted them to cover those days that he did work for the other employer.
Well, I'll ask that the commission strike, I carefully asked him to constrain his answer to within the framework of your ruling, which he promptly didn't, so I'll ask that the portion of the testimony be stricken that is in violation of your ruling. So,
Sustained.
the dishonesty was, in essence, as I understand it, that he applied for a sick day when, in fact, and we're, again, narrowly considering July 1, when he wasn't sick, right?
He didn't apply for any days
Oh, okay.
by his work.
So he's not the one applying for it. It got assigned to him through this collective decision by you, the lawyer for the city. This decision how to apportion those days as to between vacation and sick days, when was that decision made?
I'm not sure the date.
Well, was
I mean, it was on or before around July 1,
on, before, or around? Which?
in that area.
Fact is, it was after July 1, wasn't it? Before it finally got pinned down as what it was going to be called, right?
Our decision. Is that what you're speaking of?
Yes, sir.
Our decision? Yes, it would have been, yes.
Okay, so let me see if I got the chronology right. First, Captain Jarrett said, I want to take July 1 as a vacation day, right?
Mhm.
And somehow, not of his own choosing, but through the actions of others, it got converted after July 1 to a vacation day. Is that right? Or rather, a sick day.
Correct.
So that it's very clear, he did not come to you or call in on July 1 and say, I'm sick today. And then you saw him out working for somebody else?
No.
Okay. But that's kind of the way your memo's dressed up like, isn't it? On that narrow issue, that's kind of the way that looks to somebody reading it, right? That's the reason for his discipline that you've asserted for this board, right? That he dishonestly asked for a sick day and then worked on that day. Is that right?
He wasn't home.
I got that.
Okay, the fact is, he wasn't home.
Well, how could he change all that after the facts happened?
Now, now, you know, we're kind of going back and forth here, but are you talking about July 1?
I'm talking only about July 1.
Okay,
Okay?
right.
Does that change anything about your answer?
No, sir.
Ask you to take a look at what's been marked as the city's exhibit number 3. Can I approach the witness so I can look at the documents? Do you recognize, and I think in your earlier testimony you indicated you recognize the form, and I think you indicated you recognize Mark Jarrett's signature
Yes.
on there, right?
Mhm.
Now, do you recognize the writing other than the signature on there?
No.
That's not Mark Jarrett's writing, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay. So this document, if you know, was it created subsequent to the determination, we talked about the collective decision by others?
Yeah, yes, I would say so, yes.
Okay. I believe in your direct testimony, he specifically and verbally asked if that day could be counted as a vacation day, right? And I'm talking merely about July 1, right?
I'm sorry, now what?
I was wrong, but I think the record's clear on that. In your earlier testimony, you said that the assertion of dishonesty on the part of Captain Jarrett, and I'm not trying to suggest that, I just want to make sure it's clear because it wasn't clear to me. Maybe the board got it, but I didn't. The dishonesty part, that's based on the simple fact of the sick leave request, right? Was there anything else dishonest about, we've narrowed the issue to July 1 for now, but anything else dishonest about that? You've charged him with dishonesty.
Right.
And again, within the framework and considering the board's ruling, anything else dishonest about that, or is it purely the sick leave and not calling in business?
Well, it's you know, you know, the fact he wasn't home, and the fact that you know, during the interview.
Okay, now you said something about in the interview, something about Mary Beth.
Mhm.
What's Mary Beth's last name?
Bert.
Mary Beth Burt. Are you saying that he was dishonest with her?
I don't know if he was or not.
Well, okay, so you wouldn't charge somebody with something you don't know anything about, right?
Right.
So you're not charging him with being dishonest with her, right?
Yes.
You are charging him with being
No,
dishonest?
no, no.
Now, with respect to a person's ability, in your earlier cross-examination, you acknowledged that it is possible that a person would be generally fit in a physical sense, but not fit to do firefighter's duty. And if I've stated that inartfully, you tell me a better way to put that.
No, that's fine.
Okay, so would you admit that there are demands of a firefighter that a person would be unable to perform, but nevertheless be able to perform other duties of other jobs?
Yes.
All right. And has this department made the distinction in some way about that? There's various references in department documents, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that sort of make a distinction between being off on a sick day and under a doctor's care. Is that right?
You say there is a document?
Well, I'm asking you if you agree. If is there an understanding that that's kind of a distinction, that you can be unfit for fire duty on sick leave, or you can be under a doctor's care, which is a different thing?
You know, I've heard that, but I don't really, you know, you're under a doctor's care, you're under a doctor's care.
Okay, well, let's, you asked Mark Jarrett to supply you with a document that said, a medical document that said that he was unfit to do firefighter's duty, but nevertheless would be able to perform other types of work, did you not?
Yes.
Did you get that?
Did I get?
Did
Yes.
you receive
Yes.
what you requested? What was your purpose in asking for that?
Just a furtherance of my, investigation.
Well, okay, what was...
I wanted to see it in black and white that, at that time, that,
I wrote this all up, but I don't know what,
Number 7, guys.
7.
Second from last.
So,
Second from the last, that one right there, I believe. is what it said.
yeah, I've got two under
Well, it's-
6.
Check behind this.
I'll give it to you.
There it is. That's-
Do you have a copy? Is that the same copy of each?
Yes, I have, under tab 6, I have 2 excuses, but they're different.
Oh, is it different?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the longer of the two. It's the second one under the same tab.
Oh, yes, it did, sorry. Okay.
Chief, let me ask you to look at what is now then marked as Jarrett Exhibit 3, see if you recognize that.
yes,
Is that the same document you just testified to?
yes,
And it's my understanding that the purpose in requesting that was to make that determination that he may be presently, or at the time that was requested, unfit physically to do firefighter's duty, yet fit for outside employment that was different.
yes.
And you say that the reason you asked for that was to verify that.
Yes,
Did this indeed verify that?
yes.
Well, okay, then if you got this verification, what need did that satisfy? What did that resolve?
But the fact that he is unable to do the work, and that he can modify his, well, with the other job, I can't remember what it said on the bottom, but
I'm gonna move for the administrative
Fine.
3.
It's exhibit number 3 on the front side.
Okay, so let me see if we collectively have the full picture as to your assertion of what constitutes violations on Captain Jarrett's part. He didn't call in, or was that part of it?
at that point, I'm not sure if, that's just it, I can't remember the dates of how it fell. But it's not because he called, it didn't call in. It's,
Okay, so part of him not calling in is not part of it. It's
No,
the
we
fact that he
received the
wasn't
letter.
at home. Is that right?
yes,
And you'd agree with me that the only authority that would require him to be home is subparagraph P, or paragraph 3 P of what I'll call the Hedrick memo.
okay, yes,
If we all understand what the Hedrick memo is. So it's narrowly that your conclusion was that he violated that provision of the Hedrick memo by not being at home. Is there anything else?
yes. I mean, just the violation of that.
Sick leave,
For that
by asking for sick leave on a day that he shouldn't have been entitled to it, because in your opinion, he was working somewhere else, right?
Yes.
Why is that a violation, to work at some less demanding or restrictive assignment while you're not able to do firefighter duty? What's improper about that?
Well, it was being paid by the city.
Okay.
Gotta, if he does it, then what about everybody else? Well, we'll just all, we'll use all of our sick days and we'll work other jobs when we need them on duty, on shift.
Well, okay, but if you mean if one of these firefighters here is fit for his duty as a firefighter and calls in sick, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, but that's not the same as what we're talking about here, right?
Right.
Because you have medical evidence that he was not fit for duty as a firefighter, right?
Correct.
So that's not the same thing, right?
Well, no, it wouldn't be the same. The issue is that a sick day's being used,
Okay.
and he's working somewhere else.
Okay, but I think we understand from your testimony that there's a distinction between fitness for firefighter duty and sickness that precludes you from doing anything else, and that we understand that's not the case with Captain Jarrett, right?
Yes.
And you got medical evidence, but so when you say if he's allowed to get away with it, all these guys can get away with it, right? They can just call in sick.
They could call in sick and go work another job.
Well, but the point is they first have to call in sick, right?
Sure.
And that would trigger paragraph P of the Hedrick memo, right?
Yes.
But that's different than a guy that's pending approval of his pension, is understood to be unfit now and forever, right? That's different.
Correct.
And then you don't have to call in, right?
Well, no, at that point, no, he didn't have to call in, but the fact is that he was still being paid by the city of Nitro and
Okay.
working another job.
So, if you decide to call him or visit his house and he's not home, that triggers the violation, right?
Yes,
Okay, but you pick that, he doesn't pick that, right? So he
Correct.
doesn't get to pick, right?
right,
You claimed with a member of your department, Lieutenant Ely.
yes.
Have you been to his house or called him?
Yes, I have called him.
Is he there?
He stated that he's there. I called him on his cell phone. He stated that he was home.
Uh-huh. And so he's not in violation, right?
Well, I'm just using his integrity, his honesty, to say that he said he was home, and I took his word for it.
Okay. Now, but you would dispute that the predicate under the Hedrick memo is that you have to call in.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, let's go through it again. Again, I'm referring to Cities Exhibit 1 at page 5. Well, no, it's not page 5. But anyway, it's paragraph P, which is on the third printed page. May I approach witness again, please? And the sentence says, effective immediately, if a member of this department calls in sick. Now, am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, so that's, you have to have that condition in place before the rest of it applies, right? It's got to be a situation where somebody calls in sick, not somebody that's understood to be on a long-term leave, right?
Well, if you don't call in sick and you're off working another job,
Well, you can say all that, but I'd first like for you to answer the question. Does a person have to call in before it triggers this provision of the memo?
I'd say no. You don't have to call in. I mean, if a person, yes, you do. If a person calls in, then that's when that is triggered. Yes.
Otherwise, not, right?
Correct.
Okay. Fact is, you don't care much for Mark there, do you? Let's just be honest.
I'll be honest with you. I like Mark Jarrett.
Okay. But you haven't taken this action or anything close to it in other cases where people find themselves in similar conditions, have you?
You mean calling, or I haven't been by anyone else's home, no. But I have called others.
So you took a special interest in his case, even though you already knew in writing and otherwise that he hadn't called in sick and that he was medically unfit to do the job of a firefighter, right?
Yeah.
You've
Yes.
seen medical evidence of it.
Yes.
You've seen medical evidence that discusses both official work as a firefighter and as a private employee, right? And you still took this action, right?
Yes.
Who has the authority to draft rules of the fire department?
The chief.
The chief? Where does the chief derive the authority to draft rules of the fire department?
City ordinance.
What ordinance is that?
It's under the fire department.
And that's the fire department rules and regulations? Fire department rules and regulations?
Yes.
And the chief has the authority to do that, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
Oh, that's the one who's gonna read that.
What's that number, is it?
There's no tab.
No tab.
It's no
I'm
tab.
less organized than I complained to be. There you go. Noted.
It's right under the table of contents, but there's no.
Chief, let me ask you to take a look at what's now been marked as Jarrett 4. You recognize that?
Yes.
Give me out, approach witness. Now, 145.05 in sub A says, the mayor, in consultation with the fire chief, shall prepare and may from time to time amend the rules and regulations not inconsistent with state law, codified ordinances, etc. Right?
Yes.
So your present belief, as you answered my earlier question, that the fire chief had the authority to write rules, that's not correct, is it? It has to be
Well, I
the
have the
mayor.
authority, I can draft rules and take it to the mayor. That's what your question was, if I had the authority to draft rules. I can draft them and take them to the mayor.
Well, wrong again. It says that the mayor shall prepare.
Okay.
Doesn't say the chief shall draft it, Mayor. It says that the mayor shall.
To council's question, you're.
He can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm allowed to lead him this cross-examination.
I
Don't
understand
forget.
that, but you're misstating what it says.
I'm reading directly from it. Does it say that the mayor, comma, in consultation with the fire chief, comma, shall prepare? So, not much fat in that. It says the mayor shall prepare it, right? He consults with you, but he's got to prepare it, right?
Sure, yes, you're correct. But I can draft them and take things to him,
Well,
and he can accept or
the
deny.
board will understand the English language, I think. So, okay. Now, well, now, with respect to the Hendrick memo, what involvement did the mayor have in preparing that?
The memo,
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure what Mayor Casto would have had in it.
Okay. I'm going to move the election of Jack Ford. So if we can agree that the mayor, well, let me state this differently. If it turns out that the mayor, whoever the mayor was at the time, did not prepare that, even if he consulted with the chief, and I'm talking about the Hedrick memo, that's not an official order, regulation of the department, right?
I'd have to disagree.
Okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Procedurally, do you all want to do any questions? Would you like for me to? Because I have some additional
Right, right.
questions.
Absolutely, across, I mean, I have a list, but in
first.
light of, absolutely,
Okay.
in light of time, if it's okay with these guys, we can reserve the right to recall at the end if we have any questions remaining.
Let her redirect.
Absolutely. So
Thank you.
we can hold our questions to the end and
Redirect.
ask that these witnesses stay around if we need to. We might not need to.
Are all of the exhibits that you were discussing?
Other than
they
the one I just stole
up
here.
here? You have copies of these?
I think you have one. Pick it up.
I have 2, 3, 4.
In the middle of that. Look out.
Again, one.
Oh, and 4 is over here. What was, what was Jarrett 1? Oh, that was the letter that you did at the end. Chief, I'm going to direct your attention to Jarrett Exhibit number 2, which is the letter that you received from Captain Jarrett
regarding his intention to file a pension request.
Yes.
Okay. What's the date on that?
May 28th, 2013.
When did you receive that?
If I recall, it was June 3rd.
Okay, sometime after May 28th.
Yes.
Now, I'll take that. Jared Exhibit J3, which is the doctor's excuse from bone and joint surgeons. What's the date on that? I think it's like
11/9/13.
no,
Oh, 9/11/13.
so the date of that is 9/11/2013,
Yes.
which is several months after you received notice that Captain Jarrett was applying for a pension.
Yes.
And this excuse tells you that he is fit for duty, not as a fireman, but could do others.
Yes.
And again, September 11th is the date on that. Do you know when you received that?
I don't recall.
Sometime in that
Yes,
timeframe?
yes.
After you received notice that Captain Jarrett intended to apply for a pension, did he ever submit a medical excuse to you for his absences from work? Other than J3, which is the September 2013 excuse.
I don't.
Now, let me
Oh.
refresh your recollection. This, and I'm not sure even what number I'm on anymore. Okay, Jared, Nitro Exhibit number 6. Something is funny.
Chili roll.
Oh, yeah. All right, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Nitro Exhibit number 6.
Okay.
And does that refresh your recollection as to whether or not you had ever received any medical information from Captain Jarrett for his absences from work after June 3rd?
Yes. Yes.
And had you received anything?
Up to this point, no.
And what's the date on that letter?
June 21/13.
And how did you send that letter?
By mail, certified mail.
Was it delivered by certified mail?
I think it was attempted twice and then returned.
It was returned to you?
Yes.
To mark this as City of Nitro Exhibit number 7.
All right, I'm going to hand you City of Nitro Exhibit number 7 and ask if you recognize that.
Yes.
What is that?
It's an email from myself to Mark Jarrett.
And what does the email say?
You have not turned in a medical excuse for sick days you have used on or after May 28, 2013, up until this point, per memo dated November 18, 2011. Let me read the all.
Yes,
All in the
please.
memo states, when a member of the Nitro Fire Department is out on sick for more than one shift, 24 hours, or a 30-day period, he or she is required to submit documentation from a healthcare provider certifying the medical necessity for the absence and the expected date of return to work. Please turn in these excuses as soon as possible. Thank you, Judge.
And this was an email from you to Captain Jarrett?
Yes.
What's the date on that?
June 21.
June 21, okay. Did you ever see a medical excuse in response to that email and the attempted
I
delivery?
object, there's no foundation for a requirement. She hasn't produced any evidence that he got this email.
Well, I think if you let me ask a couple more questions, you'll see what I have in response to the email.
I think you're right, and that we ruled up earlier to get to the bottom of it, we'll give her all the time she needs to provide proof that he got what they're saying he got.
Did you ever receive a medical excuse after you sent that email on June 21st?
No.
You did not?
I mean,
You didn't receive one? This may be a question for my next witness, if you didn't receive it.
I don't recall.
Okay. Let's mark this as my next exhibit.
I've got a bigger copy of this.
Do you?
Yeah.
I got one, mine's so small. Oh, so much better to read.
She's gonna read
Yeah,
that.
can you just renumber that?
She's
We'll
gonna
use the
ask for
bigger
that
one.
back there.
Yeah, you can use the one that's in this book, you can probably read it better. How'd you get such a big one? I'm gonna hand you Nitro Exhibit number 8, ask if you've ever seen that.
Yes.
So you did see that. What's the date on that?
6/25
Okay,
of 13.
6/25. So on June 25th, 2013, or sometime thereafter, you saw this medical excuse.
Yes.
What does it say?
Please excuse patient from work from 6/1/13 until further notice.
And who was that from?
It's bone and joint surgeons.
From a physician's office?
Yes.
Was that, I'm sorry for one moment, is that exhibit 8 right there?
Yes,
And I see,
and it is in that notebook.
it's one tab.
Right.
Let her roll.
Dated what?
June 25th, 2013.
A couple days after you asked him on the email and via registered mail. Is that- is that-
Registered mail that was returned, yes.
He got what he was asking for.
I'm not making any statements about that, I'm
Right.
just saying that
So it's a record.
that is the date.
Not about whether he got it, he
Yeah,
gave
no,
him
but
what
I
they
think you
asked.
got it.
Yeah. All right. They got what they were asking for.
Correct. You were asked in the cross-examination when the determination was made as to how to, or at what point the determination was made to track the days as sick versus vacation in response to the vacation request form. Do you remember that discussion?
Yes.
Do you know on what date or at what time the decision was made as to how to record Mr. Jarrett's absences?
I don't recall.
who takes care of recording the absences as sick or vacation or regular time or overtime?
Mary Beth Burke.
And she is the, I think her title now is personnel manager, is that right?
Yes.
At some point, did you have a conversation with her about it?
Yes.
If we're gonna go into discussion about conversations he had with the personnel director, that's clearly hearsay.
I mean, if she asked him what you said to her, it's fine, but obviously.
Yeah, all I asked was if you had a conversation. I didn't ask the substance of
Understood.
the conversation.
Understood.
Do you still have the Hedrick memo? There's the infamous Hedrick memo.
We have it over here.
Ah, you have the marked copy? No? The one with the exhibit sticker on it? Do you have it?
If I stole it, I mean to, and please don't get it.
No? That's not it. Let me double check. There was one up here with an exhibit sticker is the one I'm looking
You can see that this is
for. Yeah.
legit until we can.
I just want to make sure that
missing doc-
Sure.
Yeah.
when we are done, that
Sure,
we get
yeah, we need
everything.
to track that. I think she hasn't said anything yet. So.
There was much to do about paragraph P of city's exhibit number 1, and whether or not the person had to call in. At the beginning of paragraph P, does it make any statements about having to call in when it says that sick leave should be used when you're incapable or unable to perform duties?
No.
Is sick leave only used in your department when someone is physically ill, or is it used for illnesses, injuries, or other incapacities?
For illness and incapacities.
Anytime
Injuries.
someone,
Injury, sickness, or injury.
anytime someone is physically unable to work?
Yes.
So whether they call in, or whether you have a medical excuse that says excused from work until further notice, it's still sick leave.
Yes.
Okay, anything else?
I'm gonna try these quick as possible. You don't have any way to know whether, and I'm referring to the email that you discussed. You don't have any way to know whether Mark Jarrett got that or not, right?
No, that he didn't, I sent it, but no, I don't.
Okay. We object to that being part of the evidence. And you sent him a letter back on June 21 that apparently got returned as uncollected, right?
May I make a statement? With
Well, you
the,
gotta answer first, then you can answer.
well, I was wanting to go back to the email. I did not get a return email for that. The email that I sent to Mark, I did not get it returned. So as far as I know, that it did go to his mailbox.
You know whether it went to his inbox, spam box, junk mail?
It went to any of them, I guess.
So you don't know if he actually saw it?
Correct.
Okay. On that basis, I move that not be admitted then. Now, you testified that notwithstanding the words in the memo, that still, you can't take off sick without calling in, right?
Bear with me 1 moment.
Sure.
I understand, the argument appears to be moot. They got what he asked for, but he's asking that the letter be stricken, and the next one that's probably going to bring up, that be stricken, that he did in fact get notice. You're saying he gave you the evidence, we've admitted that into evidence, that he gave him the information he was asking for 2 days later. Is that right?
Yes.
So regardless of whether he got those 2 letters, he gave him the information that he was asking for. That's been.
Because he miraculously knew it was being
Okay,
requested.
so regardless of whether he got
Okay
it or
with
not,
that.
we'll stricken those 2 from the record because they got what they were asking for. I mean, is it?
Well,
is it a
no,
problem?
I don't want it stricken from the record, partially on the letter. Because I think the fact that Captain Jarrett was not claiming mail that was coming to him.
But see, that's I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That was coming to him from the Nitro Fire Department shows some evidence of his lack of diligence in his reporting and in his communication.
But the premise is a faulty one. The fact that he is not collecting, we don't know what happened to that, other than the Postal Service reported that it was unclaimed. That's all.
Conceding both your points, and I think these guys will agree on this, the evidence only shows that the city made an effort to contact the defendant. It doesn't show that they made full faith effort to contact him multiple ways, legal way, one legal way. It doesn't show that the other guy did it. The evidence states what it is. It is evidence stating that the city tried to contact him. It should be admitted, I think. It's not stipulating that the guy was made aware. One doesn't have anything to do with the other.
I understand your ruling, sir.
Yeah.
Now, you offer, as part of your case, a requirement that if a person is going to be off sick more than 30 days, they have to provide medical evidence, that doctor's excuse.
30 days?
Yes?
Uh,
Or within 30 days?
Well, actually, when in 3 days, if you take 2 consecutive shifts, then the third day you're supposed to have medical excuse.
Okay, but that's what you bring back in order to return to work, right?
No, that's correct. That's correct.
Okay, well, he hasn't been back to work, right?
Right.
So it's triggered after he comes back. He's never been back. But nevertheless, in spite of not being required to, he supplied you something on June 25th, said he's unfit for duty and won't be back. So you're saying that that's ineffective for what reason?
It's ineffective. What do you mean?
Well, is it your position that this notice or this doctor's excuse is ineffective for your purposes?
Well, it didn't say what it was for, why it was off.
Well, it came from a physician, right?
Yes.
Okay. It's not a leap to figure it was due to medical reasons, right? Well, you had a pension application with the medical report, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you're trying to pretend now that you didn't understand why he was off work?
No, I'm not trying to pretend anything.
Well, then what's the point in your statement that you did you not know why he was off work?
No.
You didn't know?
Well, I know that he was injured, but I didn't know what the problem was. I mean,
Okay, did you ask him to supply anything more than this? You wanted a doctor's excuse saying he was off for medical reasons, right?
yes.
Okay, did you Did you, and as I understand your earlier testimony, you also had the application for his pension with the medical records that go with that, right?
Are you talking about the initial application that was brought to me, or the application that went to the municipal pensions board?
Look, if you're trying to outsmart me, it's easy to do.
I'm not trying, I know, I'm trying to understand you.
But, okay, well then let me make it real clear. Prior to June 25, 2013, got the time frame right? You had a report from a medical doctor. Now, I'm not going to dance with you about in what capacity or anything like that. You personally had a medical report in support of his pension, correct?
I had in support of his pension.
Had you seen it or aware of it?
I had not seen it.
Why is that? Aren't you a member of the pension board?
Yes.
Okay. Well, a person doesn't just say, I'm unfit for duty, I'm going on a pension, right? They have to supply medical documents.
You're correct.
Okay, and that had been supplied to you before July 1, right?
Well, you've got me confused now, because it's like, I don't know if you're talking about, was it the pension doctor?
Any doctor.
I was aware that he was going to a pension doctor.
And you had the documents submitted in support of his pension application, right?
What document are you talking about?
You had a medical document, a report from a physician indicating in greater detail, you seem to take umbrage of the fact that this doctor's excuse is not descriptive enough, right?
Right.
Okay, but you already had documentation from a medical treater describing in greater detail his condition, right?
But is it the one from the pension board doctor? That's what I'm asking you. I'm trying to filter out these documents.
Any doctor. Any doctor. Were you aware?
I did not. If you're asking me if it was from the municipal pension board, no, I did not have that document. Hey,
Go ahead.
get a drink of water.
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Sitting there for a long time.
Yeah.
But we're being quick. So the report behind tab 2.
It's behind this document. I'll ask you to look what's been marked as Jarrett 5, and tell me if that seems familiar to you.
No. I mean, other than today, this is the first time that I've seen this one.
What's the date on it?
The date on this one is 6/13 of 2013.
It's the same number.
It's going to be 6. Chief, let me ask you to look at Jarrett 6. Tell the board, please, what that is.
Permanent disability claim. application.
Right. You recognize that?
From other than today?
Yes?
No,
So you've never seen it before?
no.
Well, what's the date on that?
Oh, 6/17 of 13.
You sit on the pension board,
I sure do.
but yet no one showed you that, is that right?
I hadn't seen it, no.
Why wouldn't you have seen it? Got any, can you think of any reason somebody would have hidden this from you or something? You'll admit it's a predicate to the board sending someone for exam that they've got the burden to first show they've got a medical condition, right?
Right.
Y'all sent him for an exam, right?
The state did, yes.
Okay. So that couldn't have happened unless he had something substantiating his claim, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay. But yet, you want to tell the board that somehow this is all new to you? You're saying you're unaware of his condition, notwithstanding the fact that he submitted documents back in June.
Right. I'm aware that he submitted that document, but I had not seen that document.
I'm going to make a mention of J5 and 6.
I don't have an objection to the admission.
Well, let's just say in the world of all things possible that somehow that you were excluded from all this. Would Captain Jarrett have had a reasonable expectation that you sitting on a member of the pension board, him submitting that to the pension fund, that would have come within your scope of knowledge as well?
Yes, at some point.
And some point fairly close in time when he turned it in, right? He would expect they to share that with you as not only the chief, but a sitting member of the pension fund, right?
Right. I was aware that he had to fill out the application. The application had been submitted to the state
With the medical documents?
with the medical documents.
Yes. J5?
I'm not sure. That's the...
I know you say you don't have a present memory of it, but do you deny that that went through along with his pension application?
Well, now, the way I understand it, you file the application, okay? You file the application, this board receives it, and then they set you up with a doc. Is this that doc?
No. Well, we just talked about this, that you concede that the initial burden's on the firefighter to make a prima facie case, or at least a colorable case that he's got a medical issue, right?
Right. Yes.
So,
I don't recall that.
but you don't challenge that he would have submitted that in connection with his initial pension application, right?
He may have, I just don't recall it.
What's your understanding of Captain Jarrett's medical condition?
That he has a knee injury, and that's about as far as it goes.
You aware that he's had surgeries on his knees?
I'm aware that he's had surgeries.
Okay. Chief, during your earlier testimony, you indicated that well, I don't want to mischaracterize your testimony, so just let me ask you to look at that and see if that's something that you authored or created.
I did.
And obviously, the memo sort of speaks for itself, but let me ask you to look at the second number 2. and that makes reference to employees taking sick leave or off under doctor's care, right?
Yes.
So those are two different things, right?
Well, yes, but I was just trying to cover all bases whenever I made the statement, because it's always been in the department that it always come up, well, I was under doctor's care, I was under doctor's care. It's like, you're either off sick or you're,
Under doctor's care.
no, I'm under the doctor's care when I go to the dentist.
Okay, all right, but you've, at least for the purpose of this memo, made two separate categories for periods under which you're not physically fit for duty, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'll move for motion of J7.
No objection.
That's all I have, thank you.
We'll just,
At the risk of beating a dead horse, I think I can do this in one question.
Okay.
That was, that last document was Jared, number 8.
that's that.
Seven. That's it. Paragraph number 2, under employees not eligible for overtime. If the person is taking sick leave or off under doctor's care, how are they being paid?
With their sick time.
I don't have anything else.
Grab a drink of water real quick.
Sure.
Keep going.
Let me shoot that.
But
If you
you'll-
guys want, we'd like to, we'll hold our questions in unless you have something that you don't think they might answer in the next 7 minutes.
I also just have one question in response to redirect. But you'll concede that at times that when Captain Jarrett was medically unfit for duty, per the documents you have, he also didn't receive sick pay, he only received vacation pay, right?
Yes, he received
Okay.
both. That's due to the fact that he was out of one or the other.
One or the other, I understand.
Okay, reserve the right to recall you, say again. Yeah, reserve the right to recall you. We do have a list of questions, but they might answer them in all the many things they go through, so we might have some questions for you in the near future.
So I'm good.
Yeah, just don't, or B.
Counselor, next witness.
I was trying to recall Mary Beth Burt, but I believe she's at lunch. That she goes to lunch from 1 to 2.
Do we have your cell phone?
I don't.
Do you?
It's snowing, maybe she didn't go anywhere.
Maybe she didn't go anywhere.
So we want to try to go.
I can, yeah, let me run over. Let me
Or maybe,
run over.
Chief, if
Or actually,
that way
Chief.
you-
No, I don't need you.
You need her next.
I would, well, if